from uptown, you know my sound is major. I know you like the lyrics, kid, so just do me a favor. Tell the tech to turn my dad up. This is a backup. Hey, yo, don't back up, because I wanna dive in and swim in the mentals where your thoughts roam. I wanna make your dome my home, therefore you'll never be alone. But when you hear my song, sing along with the rhythm, cause I got faith in fat beats that I give them. Yes, it's the ears and I'm checking out the blonde one. Maybe I can have one, maybe I can con one. Chill, I'm one with God, brothers. It's hard to stay straight until you're scared straight, and then you can't wait to get out.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We are here the beginning of 2014. We are recording this on January 6, 2014, and Ramon is started getting bitter cold over here again on the West Coast. Have you seen what the weather's doing here in the U.S. here this week?
Yeah, you have a cold snap, I heard.
Oh man, the whole East Coast, the northern mid-plains and the Northeast is just getting hammered by some bitter cold. We're talking sub-zero stuff here, and it's not like it doesn't happen occasionally, but man, this one is cold. I'm glad I'm over here on the sunny West Coast here in Washington State, soaking up this 30-degree weather is like nice. So I'm not complaining at all about the cold here that we have. But
yeah, it's much warmer here. It's not that much warmer actually, 39 degrees.
So, we got anything in the news we want to cover, Ramon? What's been going on in the world of woo-woo?
Let's see. I have two news I found. One is, well, something we all know already. Is industrial hemp the ultimate energy crop? This article here is just talking about how, easy marijuana grows and how easy it is to make into biofuel. One thing we have to remember, it's a weed, so you know how weeds grow.
Oh yeah,
they grow fast, and I remember even to this day you can still find a lot of people know the story where I walked into a area that was untamed with very tall grass, and behind it I found a patch of marijuana. Of course I ran out of there because it's Japan and you do 3 months in jail if they catch you near something like that. So ridiculous, because it used to be legal here until the Americans came.
It used to be legal everywhere. Right.
But anyway, I'll read a little bit of this. It's the bioengineering is currently the fastest growing source of renewable energy. Cultivating energy crops on arable land can decrease dependency on depleting fossil resources, and it can mitigate climate change. The other thing about this is that you can't smoke gasoline.
Right, true. Very true. Although,
yeah.
I did find a time when I was a kid where I was trying to get some gas for a lawnmower, when I think I drank a little bit more gas than I got in the lawnmower tank, and I got high as a kite. I was hearing airplanes flying around and was dizzy and seeing stars and all sorts of stuff. So,
yeah, I don't know how good that is for you.
Probably.
But anyway, the other thing I found that explains a lot about you now, Tom.
Yeah.
Here's another one that I didn't know about. Broccoli sprouts have 50 times the anti-cancer properties of broccoli. And the other thing, for those of you who do drink, not that I'm promoting alcohol, but if you do drink, it's also a much better cure for hangovers than turmeric. Turmeric works amazing, but supposedly this works a lot faster. At least that's what the Japanese businessmen say. They know about hangovers. Mm-hmm. But I'll read a little bit of this. Sprouting seeds of various plant foods has demonstrated increased health benefits with increased nutrient capacity contained in less bulk with higher digestive absorption. In some cases, it's been observed to transform the regular food substance of a plant and remove its negative qualities. Broccoli sprouts in particular makes regular broccoli health benefits seem minuscule. Sprouts offer nearly 1,000% more nutrient than their full their full-grown counterparts. So that'll be in the news if you guys want to read more into it. But so now you know.
Hmm.
I know there's a few of our listeners that are battling with cancer, so you guys can, maybe juice this. And it's easy to buy, and it's probably even easy to grow too,
Yeah.
since it's just the sprouts that you're going after.
Hmm. Hmm. We're coming up with all. People are coming up with all sorts of these, natural items that are well, and have been traditionally and historically those what do they call them, the old wives' tale, or the what do they call those old mothers' cures?
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because when I was younger, that's all my mom used to deal with. And then I guess as living in New York, most of my parents are originally from Dominican Republic, and she grew up in a very rural area. Like there was no electricity there, I think, till the 90s, no running water till the 90s. So where she grew up was very rural back in the 50s and 60s. And that's all she used to always use for us was all these remedies. Now I use them myself, but now she's so hooked on the pharmacy crap, and I am always like telling her, like, what happened to your old remedies? Why did you give that up? So she's slowly going back to it, but I think she's still hooked on the pharmacy crap.
Well, I'm watching a lot of people. I mean, even people that are still in the box, so to say, that are reaching out to these alternative cures, to the turmerics and the good food type things. The people that are being conscious about what they're putting in their bodies now, and finding these alternative cures for our common ailments. And
Yeah.
that's a testament to us out here in the woo-woo world, as we call it, for raising our voice and getting this information out there. Because we got to give credit to all these podcasters out there, Ramon. I mean, since we've been doing it, we've been here for a little over 3 years now, and in these 3 years, we've seen just a tremendous amount of podcasts spring up, and it just amazes me that there are people are out there actually getting their voices out there and getting their voices heard and bringing some very valuable information to the table.
Yeah, well, if you think about the way me and you started and why we started, for myself, I kept having the dreams of doing a show, and also I just wanted to ask more questions.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
for those of you guys who've been thinking about it, stop thinking about it, just do it. If if you're scared of messing up, then listen to our first shows.
Yeah.
But I want to mention one last
You mean
thing.
our last show too?
Oh God. Um, it's funny. This is gonna be our third show, and it's the third show in this year. Anyway, I want to mention this one. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I want to mention it again. And that is how to grow 100 pounds of potato in 4 square feet. So this is homework for you, Tom. I'll read briefly. On many occasions, we've been tempted to grow our own potatoes. They're fairly low maintenance and can be grown in a pot or in the ground. Last a fairly long time if stored properly, and can be nutritious, high in potassium and vitamin C. Here's the most incentive. According to this article, you can grow 100 pounds of potatoes in 4 square feet. Learn how after the jump. So it's basically, it looks like a 2 by 2 square foot, and then you put in the potato plants, and as it grows, you add more dirt, and then you put another 2 by 2.
So just build it up, and
Yeah, and basically,
that's the same idea as using the old tires for growing potatoes. Have you seen that?
no, I've never seen that, never heard
So
of it.
it's the same principle. You just take an old tire, and fill it with dirt and plant your potatoes right in there. And then as the plant starts to grow, you throw another tire on top of it and start filling that up with dirt, and just keep stacking the tires. And then when you're ready to harvest, you just knock the whole pile of tires over and your potatoes fall out all over the place.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing thing.
It's actually
so anyway,
cool,
for those of you who have...
Some people don't think that the rubber is that there's a issue with the rubber and the soil and stuff, but that's who knows. Anyway, let's get into our guest now, Ramon. We've chatted on here long enough, so.
Yeah, he's falling asleep.
So we've got a special gift for you guys tonight. We have HermanSJr, and Herman is a believer in pure energy in a being that has evaded most people's search and understanding. HermanSJr is an avid researcher highly based in common sense, logic, and critical thinking. While a member of the International High IQ Society, he is working on his Master of Arts degree in Linguistics as he ultimately works towards his PhD in logic. He currently holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Interdisciplinary Studies, an Associate of Arts degree in Liberal Arts, and a Web Visual Design certification and an HTML developer certification. Since childhood, HermanSJr has been an autodidact. Did I pronounce that right? Autodidact. And an avid problem solver. He uses this practice every day in his personal life as well as his professional life, where he has worked in and with companies in various countries across the globe. Herman relies heavily on general systems theories and believes in approaching problems from multiple angles of study in order to assess the problems from multiple perspectives, find their root causes, determine long-term solutions, and implement them while contemplating possible variables that can arise in the future, both positive and negative. He believes that this complete process is necessary in order to achieve sound resolutions to problems in any field of study. Herman, we're going to leave it at that. You've definitely piqued both Ramon and I's mind interest, and you have a book out there called Seeking Truth While Sifting Through a Global Practice, and we definitely want to dig into this and find out what you bring to the table. Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio, HermanSJr.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you and Ramon having me on the show.
So, Herman, you've got it sounds like you've done a tremendous amount of research and in putting this book together. Give us a little background on you, if you would. Where are you from, and what actually piqued your interest in looking at some of the issues that we're facing in the 21st century?
Sure. What piqued my interest and my background and how I got into these issues in the 21st century is I am from Chicago and born and raised here, and I've always been a true nerd in every sense of the definition. So I'm constantly studying many different subjects since I was a child, and I've always been a humanitarian. I believe very firmly that we all have a duty in helping each other to grow, in finding the truth for human potential, and finding the science and the evidence that proves that truth and that potential, and trying to do everything we can to uplift our lives, but also uplift the lives of those that we loved and those that are strangers, because we are all unified, as we'll get into that later, but as quantum physics shows and a couple other sciences there. So that is pretty much me in a very basic summary, looking at different sciences such as, again, quantum physics, neuropsychology, psychology, obviously, philosophy, general systems theory, resonance, the science of resonance, religion, sociology, a lot of different avenues to try and solve these problems that we're facing, unfortunately, today, such as racism, ageism, intolerances of religion, religious violence, all these different things, corporate takeovers, and trying to to take as much out of the people and just steal all the money into the big corporations and all these things that we know everyone's doing and everything's going on these days, unfortunately. So I try to look at any problem, whatever it is, and see it from a different angle of management, of psychology, of quantum physics, of logic, of marketing, whatever it is. And you always find the better solution when you look at a problem from many different vantage points. And that will enable you to find a more sound resolution to any problem that exists.
Has there been any of the multitude of fields that you've looked into, any of those fields in particular that have stood out for you and had a greater impact on your research than others?
Yes, definitely. I specialize in deception and misdirection. So when I say that, I mean I specialize in seeing how people lie to each other, how corporations lie to consumers, how governments lie to society, and just anywhere that there is deception. And I try to see what it is that are the common variables, the common denominators within those areas, and in order to see the problems more thoroughly and recognize them much more quickly when you do come across something. So then you can take those problems, step back, look at them and say, no, this is what's really going on. And that little push, recognizing the deception, the misdirection, the disinformation, misinformation, will help you to move forward into another path and say, no, this isn't right. These things, these precepts of this religion, that religion are telling us to do this. These precepts of this race or this society are telling us to do this. All negative things, of course. So if we were to just step back, rethink the things that we're taught as children and inculcated in our minds generations to generations, we can stop and say, look, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever from a common sense standpoint, a critical thinking standpoint, and a logic standpoint. And that helps you right there to be able to change, because obviously the first thing you need to do is to recognize that there's a problem. Then only you can change, as we all know, of course.
Right. So regarding religion, do you have a faith that you are a follower of or participant of?
No, I do not have a religious faith or anything. I would say that I'm a spiritual person. I do believe in energy, and that's pretty much how I sum it up for everybody. There is this energy, whatever you want to call it, if you want to call it a higher being, guardian angel, whatever terminology you want to use, it doesn't matter, but there's some kind of force, some kind of energy that's available to all of us for bettering ourselves, for bettering this planet, for raising our consciousness. And if you tap into it, you are able to do far more different things that you can if you were divorced from it, let's say. I don't follow any religion. I am as anti-religious as one can possibly get. Well, I say that, let me preface that with something. I believe that religion has helped to do certain things, but I believe that it's far more harmful than beneficial because of obviously the history that we have and the proofs that we have and everything. But that's a tangent, a whole different conversation. But I believe that there's an energy out there, whatever you want to call it, and it is positive, it is negative, it's itself, it's whatever it is, whatever you want to make of it. And that's where I come from, and I try to do everything I can to better my life, to better the lives of those that I love with this, this science behind this energy, behind the potential that we have, and show others it as well. I try to be the impetus for the change.
Right. Yeah, kind of the way we look at it is that it's that whole knives don't kill people, people kills people. A knife can be used to cut a piece of bread or to stab into somebody's chest. And it all has to do with what we do with it. And I look at the energy that's out there and what people term as good and evil exactly the same way. This is all just just what people have done with these different things, and not what those things possess themselves. So
Right.
definitely.
Yeah. You said earlier that you were a nerd in the sense of the word, so I'm just wondering, are you a Trekkie too?
No, I've been asked that many times in my life, and it's funny that I am a true nerd, but I never got into Star Trek for some reason. I'm a Star
Uh,
Wars person, but I guess I'm kind of an oddball nerd where I'm
And
not accepted in the mainstream crowds, and I'm not accepted in nerd crowds because I'm not a Trekkie.
yeah, it's funny because me and Tom, we wouldn't call ourselves nerds, but definitely Trekkies. Well, especially
It's
me.
the same.
Well,
I
one
went.
of the Tom, you were gonna say?
Oh, go ahead, Ramon.
No, I was gonna say one of the reasons I brought it up because some of the things that I find in Star Trek, the concepts and ideas and how they would use science and develop a show from someone's theory. And one of the concepts is that in Star Trek you never heard them talk about religion or it was more I would find that they were very conscious based. You know, they had in all the different TV series they had like where they would meet a species that would either A was turning into energy or B was developing these extreme telepathic abilities, you know. So to bring it back to us now, what do you see as far as the science and let me word this correctly, the science in the whole ESP genre?
Well, that's a little tricky. I am adamant about the sciences. One thing about me is I say I'm a true nerd, and I mean that because every moment I'm truly obsessed with knowledge, as my wife will attest to. Every moment I can, I'm always studying something in and out of school. And I'm an adamant person to use the sciences to push something however possible. But the only problem, as you two well know, is that the sciences can't always test certain things, such as psychic powers, ESP, and everything under that umbrella. So it's very tricky, and I'm very careful with what I say and how I go about it because I want to use the hardcore sciences as much as possible, although I do understand that there are many aspects where you cannot do that. So I want to be careful to not come across as someone that just pushes everything and professes everything just because, and then say the adage of, well, science can't go into this. Well, if you take that aspect, then every religious person, whoever says, well, God talked to me and told me to kill my children, or God talked to me and told me to marry this person, you have to say that they're right too, because you can't test them. So to answer your question, yes, it's definitely out there. There are a huge number of cases for the psychic powers, whatever you want to look at, ESP, telekinesis, remote viewing, astral projection, all that stuff. There is a lot of evidence for it, a lot of cases that is not made available to the public. It is something that is definitely stifled, without a doubt, for different reasons. And there is a great science that has come about recently, relatively recently anyway, that is a huge proponent for these things, these anomalies, the ESPs, psychic powers, and everything, and that's quantum physics. Quantum physics is a tremendously tricky science, which I adore, truly. And it's something that is showing us that all of these powers, let me step back, excuse me, maybe not all these powers, but many of the powers, if not all of them, are provable by science, which is quantum physics. And I talk to quantum physicists quite regularly. One quantum physicist I talk to I won't say regularly, but once in a while is Dr. Fred Alan Wolf. I know that you both know him, very admire him as Dr. Quantum, he's also known as. And, these quantum physicists, they also agree that the science of quantum physics allows us now to prove certain things that the shamans were saying thousands of years ago, to prove things that, the ESP users, the psychics were saying back then. It's just that we did not have the science to test it. So, yeah, there is science that's out there that can prove it. Resonance is another one, especially morphogenetic resonance. And we are just coming to the era where we now have the science and we can say, oops, we were wrong, you guys were right,
Yeah, it's funny you bring him up because in his the last book I read of his was something yogi. I can't time travel yogi or
I don't remember, Ramon.
That sounds about right, Ramon.
something like that. But anyway, he was talking about these famous yogis, how they would know certain things that would be completely impossible for them to know, or be in two places at one time. And he was using quantum physics to explain it. And one of the things I found really intriguing is how he was looking at the Aboriginal way of looking at time. And I'm trying to remember exactly, because I don't want to missay it, but the way they look at time as being in a circle, and how what he believes is that these yogis kind of pull their consciousness out of time and are able to be in different places at the same time. And one of the things, like with quartz, the same quartz can be in two places at the same time, which I just found mind-blowing.
Right, and that's the problem with our thinking today. The book is actually called The Yoga of Time Travel, and that's the problem. Well, one of the many problems that we face with today. It's our thinking, and a lot of our thinking needs to be changed. As I say many times over my life, my adult life anyway, what we need to do first is to shift our perspective. Anytime you face any kind of problem, you always have to shift your perspective, obviously, otherwise you won't find the solution, especially when it comes to such debilitating problems such as these societal problems that we're having now, especially when it comes to stifling human potential, stifling human growth, and holding people back. It's very, very damaging. And we see time as a linear process, and it has never been that way. It's always been, well, first of all, it's only seen on the higher dimensions. It's not seen when you get down to the Planck level. Time doesn't even exist, time and space. But when you're on our dimension, if you see it as a sphere, as you just pointed out there, Ramon, it is something that you can relate to, and you can see that, yeah, you are able to step back and get out of that sphere, if you allow me to say, and focus on different things or different people in different times. As quantum physics proves, things that we see are affected by the future. It's also affected by the past. We're able to go in and out of the future, in and out of the past, particles, that is, and it's just a wacky science, and that's exactly what you were talking about. All these different stages, these yogis, these shamans, they knew this stuff a long time ago, and we were the foolish ones calling them crazy,
Right.
telling them to get back up in the mountains, and sow something or something like that. But we were the ones that were foolish, and now, as I said before, we're just coming across the science where we have the power to measure it and to apply scientific principles and create an entire new science out of this and say, look, there is something here, and it's been here all along, and we were the foolish ones. We just need to shift our perspective and relook at things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been really enthralled by quantum physics myself. It brought it was one of the big stepping stones for me here in 10, 12 years ago or so. when I really started looking into it and seeing the mystery involved within that science, and the just the double slit experiment, non-locality, that whole those two concepts there was just really really did something to my own personal consciousness as far as a shift is concerned, and opening me up to a whole world of new possibilities, and bringing it to a point of more reality, I suppose, than going poo poo, oh, no way, that's it can't happen, it'll never work, and then we see that it's a lot more mysterious than we ever dreamt.
Right.
So tell us a little bit, for our listeners out there that may not understand quantum physics very well. There are those couple of points that I just brought up are two of the big key points that I am fully aware of within the sciences of quantum physics. Would you share with our listeners a little bit about those two experiments, and maybe some more that you may be familiar with that have an impact on looking at this world from a different perspective?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not a quantum physicist. I've studied it for many, many years. I believe I understand it very well, but some of the different aspects, and you said it greatly, quantum physics is a weird science. One thing that I truly like, I really admire Dr. Fred Alan Wolf, Dr. Quantum. Once every, I don't know, if I had to guess, maybe 3-6 months, I just send him an email as a follower or a fan and ask a certain question. He gets back. But anyone can do that. And quantum physics is a bizarre science because if you think you understand quantum physics, then you just understand. That's a famous phrase, if I remember correctly, and I don't mess it up. It was Niels Bohr that said it.
Yes.
And it's truly, that is correct. I mean, just think of science and flip it all over, and just until you're at the point of what the hell is this, and you're in quantum physics. That's the amazing thing about it. Getting back to what you asked about, Tom, the double slit experiment, quantum physics was, the founder is a gentleman by the name of Max Planck, or was a gentleman named Max Planck, late 1800s. And they performed an experiment called the double slit experiment, and it's going to be hard to do this without a video here, but if you picture, I guess Dr. Quantum's video is a great example. If you picture a marble shooter, let's say, and you have a sheet of material in front of it, and you have two vertical slits, and on the beyond that, you have a screen where the marbles will hit. If you shoot the marbles randomly through the two holes, some of them will go through one hole, some of them will go through the other, some of them will bounce and hit the material and not go through any of the holes. But the ones that go through the holes, they're going to leave a pattern on the last screen, on the last block, let's say the blackboard or whatever you want to call it. And that's going to create a pattern that's obviously created when you shoot a particle at it, a piece of matter at it. And that we all know. But if you take that same experiment and miniaturize it down to the quantum level, the results are just completely wacky. Again, going off of Dr. Quantum's video that he shows, not only will those marbles go through one hole and go through the other, but they'll go through both holes and they'll go through no holes. And also, they don't go through the holes as the slits, as particles, as little balls. They go through as waves. Like if you picture, let's say, a water, okay, and you smack your hand on the top of the water there, it's going to create a ripple effect. So then these particles, they change into waves, and they go through the first obstacle, which is the double slit, and they create a different pattern on the back wall, which is the result of an interference pattern. I don't want to get too involved into it because we don't have a video here, but it creates an interference pattern. Those interference patterns are only created when you shoot waves of light at something. And that is impossible because we're shooting little marbles, we're shooting little particles, so it doesn't make any sense. So that's the start of quantum physics, of scientists saying, hey, something really weird is going on at the bottom of this, this level, this quantum level here. And they started to experiment on that, and it just got weirder and weirder. And as soon as they came up with the hypothesis, it was totally thrown out, and it got even weirder. And even today, it still gets weirder. They think they're shooting particles at something, it becomes waves. They look at it, it becomes particles again. It's really wacky, and forgive me, I'm hesitant to do this because we don't have a video, but when down at the quantum level, to make things worse or better, however you want to look at it, it teaches us that if you look at something, you're going to change it. Just the fact of observing something. Let's say you do that experiment that I just mentioned, the double slit experiment, and you watch the particles go through those two slits. Well, as soon as you watch those particles, the particles have I'll be careful what I say here. Some people say consciousness. More mainstream quantum physicists won't say that, but they have an awareness, I'll just say, where they know they're being watched. And this sounds really freaky. So then they will automatically do one thing, and they'll go back to being particles, which is what we expect them to be.
Right.
But when you're not looking, they revert back to waves. So it's really tricky, and it's not something that you can really get a grasp on very lightly. And if you take this science and understand that this sounds completely ridiculous, it sounds like someone made it up, it sounds like scientists are all either high or drunk and they don't know what they're saying. Well, if you realign yourself to the problems that we face in society and just realize that things are different than how they are, or they can be different than how they look, you have a lot of different sciences to back you up and say, no, maybe this isn't crazy, maybe we can change things in this manner or that manner or this manner. Quantum physics is a beautiful science to help you reshift your perspective on many areas.
Exactly. Yeah, that the whole observer effect thing, I actually, I suppose, Ramon, would you say that Rice experiment employed the observer effect?
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. So, are you familiar with Dr. Masayo Emoto in Japan, one that did the
the water experiments, and the rice.
Right. Well, he actually also put out an experiment he called the Rice experiment, and I'll explain it real briefly. I've explained it countless times on this show through the years, but you take three equal parts, three containers, three identical containers, three equal parts of rice and water within each container, and then you label one love, one hate, and one ignore. And every day you go by, as you're, I set them on my windowsill in the kitchen so that I'd see them every day. And every day, the one to the hate, I'd say, I hate you, you're disgusting, I want you to die, blah, blah, just say nasty stuff to it. And then I'd love the love one, I love you, you're so beautiful, you're gorgeous, these things. And then I'd just ignore the other one, and I just watch the effects. And as time goes by, the natural decay that the rice and the water would have, and the one that I said I love you to, that it's still, actually, this experiment's been sitting around here for 3 years now, and I'm looking at them right now. As a matter of fact, I've got them in my office now. The one that says love is the rice is still not decayed at all. There is no mold of any kind within this container. I don't think I would eat it at this point, but it still is. I mean, it's amazing how well it's been preserved over 3 years. And now the one I have that I had hate on, it has got some mold and some black spots and some. It looks kind of peaked, and it definitely looks unhealthy. But the one that I ignored, that I didn't pay any attention to at all, it actually it. Oh man, it's disgusting. I mean, it is nasty. So, that experiment, I suppose that actually pulled in part of the observer effect, and it also gave me a sense of what the power of my own consciousness to affect the material world around me. And I suppose that is a great segue into another area that I'm sure you have looked into is how we can affect our environment in changing things to better suit our own needs. So, what do you think about the whole big thing about manifestation? And the secret came out in what, 2008 or 2009, whenever that was, and then it became the big thing out in the woo-woo world is learn how to manifest, and so what do you think about that whole area?
Well, the Secret is a wonderful movie in my opinion, a wonderful book in my opinion. But one thing that the science that they push is, of course, quantum physics. They touch upon quantum physics, but the science that they really push upon is one that they don't really mention. It's called the science of resonance, which is one of my favorite ones along with quantum physics. Those two would be my two number one sciences. And the Secret was a great movie in that it helps you realign your perspective of what's out there, what you can really do. But one of the things that quantum physicists and I have talked about and addressed is that the Secret, they kind of marketed it in a different area than the science really shows. For example, manifestation, and you two know this, and I'm sure most, if not all, your listeners know this as well. You can't just, try to manifest something and then all of a sudden it'll come about. You have to work towards it, of course. But the difference is, when you put that energy out there, you're going to create, let's say I might come up with a silly example here. Let's say I want a brand new computer next year. I'm going to put out that energy into the universe with my thoughts, with the energy that I create with my thoughts, which are all frequencies, and those frequencies are going to help me be in alignment with what I really want. What that means is it's going to help me focus on what I want. It's going to help me remember what I want. It's going to help me what I want to do by the end of the year, if not sooner, of course. It's going to put into position in my life all these different variables, whether those variables are money, people, connections, whatever it is. It's going to be positive variables for me to achieve that thing, whatever that thing is that I want. In this case, the computer, of course. So it's going to make me push myself to come more in alignment with it. It's not like it's going to just all of a sudden bring it to me or make it a little bit easier for it to come to me. And the Secret seems to, according to me and these quantum physicists that I have talked with, it seems to focus on, well, it'll be easier if you do this and it'll come to you, and that's not really what the science shows. It shows that it will make opportunities available for you, but you still need to do A, B, and C to reach X, Y, and Z. And that is completely founded, that is well documented under the science of resonance. You have to be in alignment. The frequency that you put out there must match the frequency of whatever you want, be it a soulmate, a wife, husband, a computer, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So the science is out there in troves. It's well-founded, but you do have to realign yourself and shift your own perspective and your own mentality to understand that you can go get it, you can have it, and it can be yours.
All right, you said that this was it was well documented, this process. Would you share some of the references you're referring to?
Yes, of course. The science of resonance is a very documented field. One of them is what you mentioned with Dr. Emoto. Thank you. He does the experiment that you mentioned with rice. He did it with water. Of course, you have a lot of skeptics, but it's well documented out there. It's well proven. You can go out and you can actually get documents. There's another gentleman by the name of Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, who is big on morphogenetic resonance. He's from Cambridge and Harvard. He has a PhD from there, from Cambridge. And he has done countless experiments, hundreds of different experiments on resonance and how we are able to learn different things if we just reshift our perspective and reshift our awareness. And the mind that we have is actually a collective consciousness. And he goes into a lot of different areas of learning something, but you can take that same principle and say, well, this is under resonance. As long as you're in sync with these different frequencies, you'll be able to get something, whatever that something is. In his case, it's learning something, whether it's a new language or a computer or technology or anything like that. And the thing that I don't appreciate is when you look at resonance, it's such a coveted science. And what I mean by that is there's not a lot of it's hard for one to find correct information on it, because in my opinion it's that way because it is such a powerful science. I mean, when you look up resonance, the things that are listed under that science are just really phenomenal and incredibly ridiculous. It's a very powerful science that will help people to better themselves, to better their life, to better their loved ones' lives. It's just that it's very hard to find the information because it's not something that certain people want out there. Because it will help us to get a unified humanity, a unified front, without any question.
So, just to clarify things for our listeners here, there's a difference between resonance and vibration. Would you explain the difference, what the difference between resonance and vibration is?
Well, vibration, everything in the universe has a frequency, and a frequency is begotten by vibration. So the vibrations that are put out there all have a frequency. When I'm speaking to you, when you're speaking to me, there's a vibration that we have in the airwaves, obviously. So those airwaves have a certain frequency. And resonance is not the vibration, but resonance is the matching of two frequencies or more, actually. So let's say you and I, let's say I have a tuning fork, one of those old metallic tuning forks, and I tap one of them in my right hand. It's going to vibrate, of course. It's going to make a certain sound based on its frequency that's set in the tuning, in the fork itself. And if I hold another tuning fork in my left hand, and I do not hit that tuning fork in my left hand, in my other hand, if I bring them together, when I bring them close enough, eventually the left one will start vibrating at the same speed as the other one. It's going to cause a vibration from the right one into the left one without me hitting the left one. The vibration is a vibration itself. That creates frequency, but the matching of the two vibrations is resonance. And when you resonate with something, in this case the two tuning forks, you're in alignment with the frequency that is produced from that first thing, whatever that first thing is. In our example, it's the tuning fork. If you and I are resonating, it means that we're sharing the frequency between each other. If I want to, let's say, communicate with, I don't know, some other person elsewhere on the planet, I have to match their frequency, obviously, so I can communicate with them. It's no different from turning your radio dials and finding the right frequency to pick up your show or to pick up another show. You have to tune into the frequency that's out there, then you're resonating with that. Now, that's a very basic example, of course.
Oh, thank you very much. I know that I just sense that there's a lot of people that don't really have a full grasp of what resonance is. And, it's, really understand what it is. So I thank you very much for that explanation. You put it out quite clear and concise. So.
Yeah, the one thing I found weird, it's happened to me a few times, and it seems like it's happening more, or I'm just paying attention to it more. I'm not sure which one is the case. But there's been a few times that I wanted, like, for example, I wanted a Kindle, and I was like, oh, they're a little expensive, I'll just wait. And then my wife's coworker says, "Hey, I got an extra Kindle. I can give it to you guys for $30." So we picked it up, and a few times I've gotten several things like that where I kind of say, "Oh, I want this," but then I'll wait and not really give it any mind, and then it shows up in some weird way or channel. But then again, as we talked before, when we focus on something like, let's say, that new car or the $1 million, it's you're always thinking about it. So it still hasn't showed up.
Yeah, that's why I try to be. I'm very careful with how I speak about science professing this anomaly or that anomaly or this psychic power, that psychic power, because though I say very openly that, and I always will, that the sciences, especially the more, well, I was going to say unorthodox, but these days unorthodox is not resonance in quantum physics anymore. But anyway, the sciences do profess and do show that they do support these different anomalies, the ESP, the astral projection, trying to wish for something to a certain degree. But at the same time, you don't want to say, oh yeah, as long as you resonate your frequency, your thoughts, and your desires with what you want, it'll just come to you. Just rest. No, you don't. You don't want to do that. Of course, there are anomalies where, like you said, you're focusing on something and you really want it real bad, and then the opportunity presents itself and you get one. But one would argue that, yes, all you had to do was think about it and it came to you. Let's say you woke up on Monday morning and you said, hey, I want a Kindle. And Wednesday, your wife's friend said, you know what? I got a Kindle for you. Just give me $50. Here you go. You can argue and say, I didn't really have to do anything. Well, that's true, but someone else can argue and say, well, you didn't have to do anything possibly because of a few reasons. Number one is that's not that big of a thing to manifest. One can also say that, well, you didn't really have to, it's not that you didn't have to do anything, or nothing, excuse me. It's that the opportunity presented itself because you manifested your thoughts, you manifested your frequencies into the universe saying, I want this, and that's not a high frequency to have to wait for 1 year or 2 years for $1 million or a car. I mean, those arguments can go back and forth because then someone else can say, well, this other person won the lottery, but you're not going to get anywhere with that. You want to stay with the hardcore stuff that's proven, the sciences, and say, well, according to this, you really have to do work, you have to realign yourself, but it's going to happen without a doubt. I guarantee it. It will help you. It will better your life. But whether it comes in 1 day or 1 year or 5 days, that's the variable.
So let's step back to your book. And Ramon, do you have anything else you want to question on that?
No.
So we haven't had a chance to take a look at your book. So if you would, for us, what exactly do you cover in your book?
Well, the book is Seeking Truth while Sifting Through a Global Practice, and the book touches predominantly on religion. Although my research and my work and everything that I speak about is trying to do everything that I can to better myself, to better others, to show myself and to show others that the sciences prove that we can do this, and this to better our life, to better our society, to create a more symbiotic relationship with each other on this planet, to create a more humanitarian type of planet. This book pushes on the religious aspect. I keep it very short because I don't want people to get bogged down with 400 pages or 300 pages of whatever. So this book helps people to look at the aspect of religion, see the things that it has done on the negative side, of course, and question certain things that they otherwise probably would never question, such as, why is my religion right? Why are these people all wrong? Why do I not tolerate these people? Why am I told not to tolerate these people? Or why do I tolerate these people, but deep down inside I know they're going to hell?
Right.
You know, it's like, you know, let them believe whatever they want. It's kind of said on while you're on the higher tier there, oh, they just don't know any better, you know. But I mean, that's a light aspect of the religion. Of course, we're talking about the other more deviant aspects, such as, you know, female genital mutilation, honor violence, and honor burnings, and all kinds of stuff, which I don't want to point out any specific religion here, because to me they're all equally interesting. So the book really pushes, I try to be the impetus to show people that it doesn't have to be this way. If you think of it just from an angle of common sense, logic, and critical thinking, the religion does not make sense. No religion makes sense. If you were to, let's say in a court of law, one of the examples I use in the book is if you were to say in a court of law, oh, well, I know this guy killed this girl. Okay, that's fine. Where's your evidence? I don't have any evidence. Well, how do you know? I just know. Well, did you see him before? No, I've never seen him before. You know where he was for the last 18 years or 16 years or 20 years? Well, no, I have no idea. But believe me, he did it. And, you know, all these different things. That's just one tiny example. I just really try to impress upon people in the book that if you just stop believing what you're taught to believe since you were a child, what your parents were taught to believe and what your grandparents were taught to believe, and just question it, question everything from an angle of, you know, general systems theory or logic or common sense or whatever, it doesn't make any sense. So if something doesn't make any sense, why are you continuing to do it, whatever that thing is? And I truly hope that the people that read the book will have an impetus to change something, to at least, if nothing else, at least look into it further and look into these other religions, look into their religion and see how things differ and how things may or may not make sense. So the book is really out there for anyone who wants to see the difference of what religion teaches and how we walk through it, walk through life, blindly going through these religious precepts, and those who are questioning things where their life depends on religion. You know, where someone is going to get into seminary, or someone's going to marry someone and they don't do it because of a certain religion, or someone gets beaten up, or someone gets killed, or whatever, because of a certain religion. So I really hope to just kind of help to awaken certain things on religion, and just to show that this is not right and we must not do this, because we are all unified and we all should help each other perpetuate and grow.
Yeah, I heard you talk about that quantum physics bears out the unity of life. What within quantum physics shows that to you?
Yes, within quantum physics, there are quite a few proponents of this. Obviously, Dr. Fred Allen Wolf, Dr. Quantum, and Dr. John Hagelin, Dr. Michio Kaku, they all profess, and others, of course, they profess that we're all unified, we're all one. And if you think about it, there's a principle in quantum physics that's called the entanglement principle. And roughly speaking, on layman's terms, that means if you take two particles, two elementary particles that were connected at some point, you separate them, and let's say you put one at this corner of the universe and the other one at the other corner of the universe. If you do something to one, the other thing will also feel the reaction. Both things will give a reaction instantaneously. So let's just say we have a particle at one side of the universe, and here's a silly example. We take a lighter and we light it, okay, and we try to turn up the temperature on it. Immediately, no time passing whatsoever. We're talking about instantaneously. The other one that's all the way on the other side of the universe will give the same reaction, and will feel that same thing that you're doing to it, in this case the lighter, we're burning it, of course, without any kind of delay. So if you were to expand upon that and remember that at the beginning of the creation of the universe, of our universe, the Big Bang, everything was one entity. Everything was unified. Then all of a sudden there was an explosion and everyone went everywhere. Stuff was flying everywhere and everyone was separated. But at the beginning, everyone was unified. And if you go into other science as well, and you say, like, definitely resonance, of course, and you see that there are certain aspects that we know about, like we're all unified. People believe that they have a certain connection with others. They believe that they feel a connection with their son, with their daughter, with their husband, with their wife or something. If you go into all these different anomalies, these different phenomena that exist in the world, anywhere in the world, and you just work backwards and say, well, this person feels linked to this person. Over here, this person felt this thing, and they knew right away to get up and take him to the hospital because they just felt something was wrong with that other person. If you just take all these different instances, and you'll have a lot of them, and just work backwards and say, well, why do they feel unified? Well, because of this, this, and this. Eventually, you go down further and further and further. You come to the point of quantum physics, which is entanglement, and it says, well, obviously, it's already proven that everything came from Big Bang. It's already proven that everything was one entity, one particle, whatever you want to call it, at the beginning of creation. So if you expand upon that, moving forward instead of backwards this time, well, obviously we are all unified, we are all linked, we all feel linked to a certain person. Sometimes you meet a new person you never met before, but you just feel a connection. You just feel some kind of connection with them. And if you take all this, and this is why I love general systems theory, and this is why I study so many different sciences as much as possible, because you just stand back and look at all these different things before you. You'll see these different anomalies, you'll see these different parallels. You work backwards from science to science to science. You will come across one final resolution, and that is that we are all linked, we are all unified, as the prominent minds of today also profess. Again, Dr. John Hagelin, Dr. Mitchell Cochran, Dr. Fred Alan Wolf, also known as Dr. Quantum, and all these different people. So it's something that is unfortunately still negated by mainstream scientists, but it is something that is giving more and more evidence as we move further into this time of enlightenment.
Fantastic. Oh, well, we've actually burned up I just looked at my recorder, and we've burned up this first hour already, and so we're going to go ahead and take a short break now, and I would urge anybody out there listening, if you are not a member to the 100th Monkey Radio yet and would like to help support Ramona and I and all that we do, we'd ask you to jump over to the 100thmonkeyradio.com and join us and become a monkey. Yeah. Anyways, we will be back after a few messages. We have with us HermanSJr, and his website is HermanSJR.com, and I would ask you guys to go take a look. He's got some really amazing information over there, so check out his site, guys. We will be back after this break. And condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
We'll see you on the other side. We're going to let, who we got? Inner Soul, It's the Right Time, taking us out.
Until you're scared straight and then you can't wait to get out. Then you shout, damn, I got freedom. Unless it's being taught, black man, I know you need one. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up. Unheim I am, you want the plan, then that's the native. You shouldn't tell an artist not to be creative. You see, the motive is to control more than this did. Hit, listen up, listen the soul, and I'll bring much more than your average MC. Please give me a break, man. Let me be me so I can be free to do as I please. See what I see, be who I be. brain even when I start to enter. The beats I'm bending, the vibes I'm sending, it's pleasure, never better. Even though shit is a mess, I never stress, in touch with insight, therefore I'm blessed with the armor. Tell your mama, but kill the drama. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up. Yo, the master rhymer indiscreet. I walk the street with the knowledge, learning about things that you can't get in college, like science from the pavement, beats from the basement. My mouth full of lyrics, then the label makes the placement. Then my face went across the screen. This girl saw me getting raw to the beats with the gasoline. My self-esteem went through the roof. Stepped into the club, yo, I got juice, got loose on the MI. Now she's in my face, dragging me all around the place. Damn, it's a disgrace that I can't enjoy my craft, spew my math, cause I'm too busy running away from this girl with the dumb laugh. My path straight, so I lose the habit, and yo, I bounce like the rabbit. Yo, she's got the habit, cause she's chasing me. I'm out the door, kid, it's in the soul, and I'm free. The right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you missed it, then press rewind. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up.